So like I said, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be taking a look at some of the case study deployments and examining some of the deployments businesses around the world have been putting into their businesses and have been deploying for some of their clients. My name is Brian Van Meter. I'm a marketing manager here at Grandstream Networks. One more time, just want to say thank you so much for attending. Just a few quick points more before we get started. If you have any questions whatsoever, if you're joining us via IP Video Talk, please go ahead and use that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're joining us via Facebook Live, go ahead and ask any questions you have in the comment section of the live video that you're seeing streamed right now. If you're watching this afterwards as well on our YouTube page, please also leave any comments there and we'll be able to get back to you. If you're experiencing any kind of technical difficulties on the IP Video Talk side of things, go ahead and just use the chat. I have Phil joining me today as well. He'll be able to assist you a little bit there. The presentation will be shared afterwards. I'll be sending it out along with links to all of the case studies that I'm going over today so that you'll actually have physical copies of that along with the webinar recording, of course, as well. So we're looking at deploying Grandstream, examining some of our, I would say, a little bit bigger case studies, at least some of them that do a pretty good job of showing how most of Grandstream's products can be deployed together to create a very integrated solution. So some of the highlighted case studies that we're going to be going over today, I have them here. Just to go over them really quick. So Semper Altius, it's a unified communications and Wi-Fi networking case study. I'll be going over how a school district down in Mexico was able to create a very comprehensive UC and Wi-Fi solution. Accor Hotels, going to be covering how they used Grandstream to really upgrade one of their flagship hotels in Paris. Voice Connects, going over how a Voice Connects, which is a UC installer, has been installing many UC and security deployments for over 12 school districts here in the United States. I'm going to butcher the name on this a little bit, but Semper Dietana. We're going to be going over how they create a resilient and powerful Wi-Fi network, especially within a greenhouse environment where that can be very tricky given the high humidity and temperatures. And exposure is definitely always an issue there. The Estancia Real Cabo San Lucas Hotel, going to be covering how they created a comprehensive Wi-Fi network for their many various rooms, bars, bars, business center, and other areas. And lastly, covering DFT communications and ITSP and SIP service provider, covering how they basically take Grandstream to offer a very competitive communication solution for their customers. All right, so let's start with Semper Altius. This is a pretty good one. They're an international network of schools with over 100 campuses around the world. A particular network within Mexico of 3 schools and a central office was in need for an upgrade. We're talking about a complete voice and mobility solution. That sort of aspect of the deployment was an absolute necessity. They also required a new Wi-Fi network to support hundreds of users as they were starting to adopt new technology for both their students and their staff to make everyone more productive and really further that education system. They needed the ability to frequently manage, customize, update, and scale their voice platform as well. This was needed for the actual back end of things. So just to let's go over some of the actual products that were deployed. Anchoring their entire system was the UCM IPBX series. We had 3 UCM 6510s that were actually deployed within each school, and 1 UCM 6202 that then was deployed within their central office. These were actually paired together to create a very redundant network. It enabled each school, in the event of any type of failure, to be able to back up their communications to the central office to make sure communications were always flowing. This, of course, always enabled communication from the office to all the other schools in the event that any communication was needed on that end. The classrooms required a simple phone with speed dial and dual gigabit ports. They really intended to use each of the devices to not only, of course, use them as communication, but then continue using the gigabit ports to then transfer any type of connection that they had along to a computer network. And over 100 GXP 1630s were chosen for the actual school classrooms for this reason. Receptionists in each school were able to utilize the 2160 for its built-in speed dial and BLS sidecar that we have. That way they'd be able to field any kind of incoming calls, whether it be from administrators, staff, from the central office, parents, and make sure that they get sent over to the proper channels. Managers and directors utilize the GXP 2135 quite simply for its high-end feature set. They needed to be able to really field in as many calls as they could at one time, see who they can communicate with through the digital BLF, as well as being able to have many contacts that was available to them to send speed dial calls to as well. Central office, who relied a little bit less on frequent communications, actually chose the GXP 1615. Has a very small footprint and advanced VoIP features, nevertheless, along with the PoE capability as well. Lastly, a powerful Wi-Fi solution was created for both the students and the staff using the GWN 7610 Wi-Fi access points. So let's take a look at some of the benefits that this sort of lended to Semper Altius and their school district. Mainly to create a comprehensive unified communications platform throughout the entire network of schools in the central office, enabling everyone to have that voice and mobility capability. Everyone was able to basically transfer and easily communicate together. In the event of any type of managerial or conferencing needs, that'd be able to be done through the 2135 and bridging in additional individuals, students, staff, as well as parents. Create a redundant network that linked together the facilities while still providing that customability. So essentially, we were able to have one full network while at the same time, each of the schools were able to customize their IVRs depending on the actual needs of the individual school, as well as being able to actually customize and scale the solution as well when additional endpoints were needed. Really important mobility support like voicemail to email, provide an extension to multiple devices, and customized call forwarding, all features that they really required and needed to keep their staff on the move, and they were able to do that through the UCM. And last but not least, of course, the entire campus was covered with fast Wi-Fi, a network that really supported hundreds of users. This goes from staff utilizing smart devices for education purposes to laptops that they would be able to stay portable. It's also students being able to access any type of educative smart devices as well. All right. So Accor Hotels, taking a little bit of a switch away from the education sector, moving into hospitality. Accor Hotels, who they are, it's a French multinational company that owns, manages, they franchise over 30 different brands of hotels, resorts, and vacation properties all across the world. Really, they were looking to upgrade an outdated legacy analog system in most of their hotels. They chose to start with their actual flagship hotel in Paris. They really were seeking for a solution that was a great fit for both their staff and their guests. This was an absolute necessity so individuals would be able to communicate guests with staff. Staff would be able to transfer any type of incoming calls wherever it needed to go within the departments of the hotel and vice versa. All right, so the devices that Accor went with here. Front desk and concierge, they upgraded their ability to handle high volume calls. This was an issue that they were having where the front desk and concierge was being just a little bit overwhelmed by the incoming calls. They went with the GXP 2135 for the ease of use along with the high volume capabilities, along with the easy digital BLF fields so that they'd be able to see who was busy within the departments if they did need to transfer a guest call to, for example, catering, housekeeping, etc. They'd be able to do so. They actually created a business center, and the hotel lobby was created more of a sort of business-focused amenity. And I'll show you guys some pictures of that in a second. They really upgraded with the GAC 2500 series to sort of have a good conferencing experience. After all, this was a hotel that was located close to the airport, so they very frequently had many business and corporate guests that they needed to provide this amenity to. And as well as with the GXP 2135s, were within the business center and the hotel lobby if guests were required for needed different communication purposes. Administrative and office staff made more productive. They utilized actually the GXP 3240 so that they'd be able to access some of those sort of multimedia applications. Along with the Grandstream Wave application as well, so that they would be able to stay mobile when they had to move throughout the hotel. They would still have access to their extensions. Guests within their within their rooms were provided the streamlined, easy-use telephony with the GXP 1630 and the speed dial keys that come along with it. And last but not least, a main and backup UCM 6510 were deployed along with an HA100 that would be able to create a fully redundant communications network. Big thing here as well is the UCM 6510 was able to fully integrate within their property management systems, looping in all of their communication system with their back-end platforms. All right, so here's a little bit some of the pictures that we have. As you can see in the top left, we have the 1630s within the guest rooms. Office staff on the top right utilizing that GXV 3240. A little example within the business center, I think this one is actually within the hotel lobby, but the GAC deployed within that sort of conferencing circle, along with the GXP 2135 as well. Of course, front desk and concierge, you get a little bit of an action shot there of them utilizing the GXP 2135, just fielding any kind of incoming calls, whether it be from current guests or guests who are looking to place calls in, speak with hotel staff. All right, so some of the benefits that Accor Hotels saw when they fully deployed our solution, they upgraded their really old legacy system that really poorly worked together with a highly customizable and future-proof solution. A big thing about this solution as well is that they would be able to continue to customize any type of call environments that they were really looking for, no matter what kind of staff changes they may have had. Along with being able to upgrade any type of communication for more mobile staff in the future. They create fail-proof communications through a redundant network, so even if one UCM went down or anything happened to it, the backup UCM would be able to pick up all communications through the HA100. Improved internal operations and productivity while assisting guests, so basically having access to those sort of higher call volume devices, along with the BLF, so being able to more easily transfer and auto-attend and assist calls from the staff. And then, providing the guests with the meeting and business spaces. So we have that high-end communications equipment through the GAC 2500, enabled the corporate guests and anyone with more of a business background who needed access to more powerful communication tools than what was in their room would be able to utilize that within the business center and the hotel lobby. And last but not least, being able to bring in their PMS property management systems and sort of have it work in tandem with their communication systems with a huge advantage, such as being able to dial and place automatic IVR calls and orders with room service, with catering requests, along with any kind of wake-up calls as well. All right. Moving back over to the education sector to another great case study, we have Voice Connects. So Voice Connects is an installer company that basically designs redundant distributed communication networks. They really aim for the education industry. They do this throughout the state of Missouri. The school districts in Missouri saw themselves having older, discontinued, or almost end-of-life VoIP systems. They really needed, and this is a key part that I'm sure many of you would recognize if you deploy into the education industry, they needed an affordable solution that still have, was completely feature-loaded as well. So really needed to be modern, future-proof. They didn't want to have to deal with another system sort of being just obsolete. Scalable for if they needed to bring in additional staff, and affordable as well. So basically, Voice Connects has actually deployed Grandstream as a go-to solution. They've done this for over 12 districts at this point and counting. So let's take a quick look at some of the devices that they've done this with. The redundant word has been used a lot here, but it is an important one. They chose the UCM series of IPBXs to create that feature-loaded network for all of these education school districts. The UCM's deployed basically in a network arrangement with the actual central office of each district being the primary IPBX using the 6510, and each school within the district had an additional UCM 6200 series. The 2100 series really has been the primary choice so far almost every time when it comes to endpoints. This is really due to their high-end features, high-volume capabilities, being able to field any type of calls or communication needs that present themselves, along with having their BLF and speed dial needs as well. When conferencing was needed, they would be able to choose the GAC 2500 to place in any type of areas in which they would have parent-teacher conferences with the student or staff huddle meetings. Video conferencing capabilities as well were a big deal with multimedia tools. They really were aiming to enhance the administrative and staff's productivity, one with the GXB series of Android video phones in almost all of these deployments for that reason. Last but not least, facility security is a big deal within the education sector. They were able to go ahead and utilize the GDS 3710 to really control access, who is coming in the schools, when they were doing it, and when those front doors, back doors, and everything else would be locked. All right, so here's a quick look at the solution they were able to make. If you kind of think about it, very similar to the Semper Altius, but we have the central school district that has the 6510 separating out to the various 6200 series, along with our endpoints. This allowed basically for the central office to sort of be the backup for all communications, while each school being able to customize any type of IVR, extension, etc. needs that they needed, or had, excuse me. All right. So take a quick look at some of the benefits that Grandstream brought to many of these districts that Voice Connects was able to deploy. Redundant, there it is again, a distributed network, really linking each of the district facilities, allowing for also that individual customization, basically being able to really seamlessly link who is able to communicate with each other within these networks, while allowing each school to customize whatever they need. Really looking for a state-of-the-art solution, basically being able to make things for a solution for districts ranging from 150 users all the way up to 1,500 users per network. This is also a big example why that scalability is a necessity, especially within school districts. It's very common as time goes on to being able to have more and more students inflow, requiring more staff, of course, as well. Grandstream's auto discovery, zero configuration capabilities really allowed to streamline the scalability process too. We've talked to Mike, who's one of the individuals that actually deploys through Voice Connects, one of the main ones for this case study. He's already had to go back and do new upgrades, scale the solution up with more endpoints, and be able to do that very efficiently and easily with the zero config and auto discovery features. And of course, last but not least, facility security is a key thing, especially how it integrates with our phones. For example, through the GDS 3710, it's actually the video itself is able to stream to our multimedia Android phones that are deployed throughout these facilities, along with being able to send a stream of static JPEGs to front desk staff that are utilizing the 2100 series. Through that as well, any access could be granted or denied through a soft key option on those phones as well. Along with having the RFID key code options, allowing staff to being able to just easily move throughout the facility when needed. Janitorial, for example, custodial, security. All right. On to the next one, but still a pretty substantial one here. Semilio Diatana. I'm sorry for butchering that. I'm sure someone's going to call me out on that. But they're a producer of horticulture plants. They're actually located in Spain. More than 300 million units, basically, of just watermelon, tomatoes, all kinds of different vegetables and fruits required for retailers, restaurants, etc., are sent out per year by them. Greenhouse staff and workers basically were being upgraded to smart devices to being able to scan barcodes and more easily obtain information about the various plants and also where to distribute them. They needed a Wi-Fi solution that basically supported those smart devices. The current Wi-Fi structure as is was spotty, was not weatherproof, and really frequently had humidity issues. They actually chose Grandstream as a solution to cover their 140,000 square meter greenhouse. This is a lot of space here and an absolutely massive Wi-Fi network that was required within it. So what did they went with? They actually went with the GWN 76000 LR. That stands for long range, a Wi-Fi access point. They really were able to create a wireless framework within it. So the big aspect here was the GWN 76000 LR is an outdoor weatherproof access point, and it could really stand up to the rigorous, intense greenhouse conditions, all the way up very frequently having 85% humidity within the greenhouse and up to degrees of 32 degrees Celsius, roughly about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The GWN 76000 LRs were also able to cover up to 300 meters each. This basically means that they were able to have less APs before and still maintain a stronger signal strength. This, of course, makes the customers happy because less APs means they have to spend less money and still have just as good, if not, well, in this case, a much better Wi-Fi deployment. The key thing here was the weatherproof capabilities within the GWN 76 LR, along with the availability to have a built-in controller with the devices. So one AP was able to actually manage, through one AP, the deployer was able to manage, configure the entire Wi-Fi network for the staff. All right. Looking at our next one, another Wi-Fi deployment case study here, Estancia Real. It's a 5-star hotel in San Juan de los Lagos, Mexico, with 9 floors, 77 rooms, 2 bars, a restaurant, a nightclub, and a business center, all for up to 200 guests, 200 people. A huge area to cover with multiple floors. They really were requiring a powerful Wi-Fi network. It needed to be powerful for both the staff and the guests, and of course fast no matter the amount of users. During peak season, staff of course still needed to have fast access to Wi-Fi, along with being able to keep guests happy. They needed that fast Wi-Fi as well, no matter the amount of individuals within it. Of course, it needed to be secure as well, supporting any type of roaming capabilities and low maintenance. So they went with the 7610 for this. to deploy throughout the entire hotel. Powerful and secure, definitely something that the GWN series delivers. Really has high-end security features to keep entire Wi-Fi networks protected. Has roaming support, along with guest SSIDs and staff SSIDs. The deployer was able to set up one for staff and one for guests. And of course, this would also allow roaming from access point to access point. It's also enabled them to being able to configure usage limits as well with the SSIDs to make sure the guest side of access point usage did not bog down and slow down the staff side. Of course, you know, everyone gets very frustrated by a slow signal strength, especially so when you're trying to work. It's even more of an issue because it leads to productivity issues and efficiency issues. Low maintenance, easy management. Like I said, with the built-in controller, the installer was able to configure and set up the entire network from a single access point. All right. Excuse me. All right. In the last one that we're looking at here, guys, DFT Communications. So their communication, we're looking at service provider now, based in New York. They deploy phone, internet, and security services all over the United States. Their primary customer base, we're looking at small to medium businesses, ranging from your small, very kind of mom and pop shop with maybe one line, all the way up to basically smaller branch offices, for example, with 300 lines. They actually required an on-premise option. They were seeing some of their customers really want to have the availability to customize and sort of set up their communication solutions on site. Along with, they needed endpoints that basically they were having issues with endpoints that didn't really function well with their communication services and their SIP trunking services. They really required endpoints that work seamlessly with what they were offering as well. And surprise, surprise, they went with Grandstream. All right, so just to start, that on-premise option that they want to be able to offer was the UCM series. Of course, the UCM series I've been talking about a lot throughout this presentation. Like I said, it offers really that full suite of enterprise features at a more affordable cost with an easy availability to customize any type of communication needs that you have within with on-site, along with it being able to work easily with their SIP trunking services is a big reason why they like it so much. Endpoints were easy to install and configure with more of their actual hosted services. They very regularly deploy the GXP 2170 for a desktop endpoint just because of the sheer call volume and call handling capabilities that it has. GAC 2500 is their go-to conferencing solution. And then in a lot of cases where users still want to utilize sort of that sort of legacy line, they're able to go ahead and utilize the HT800 and GXW 4200 series to help implement internal VoIP solutions with legacy line customers. All right, so some of the benefits with those products that they were able to create. Our solutions really allowed them to create more of a customized deployment due to our huge portfolio of phones, everything from our 1600 series all the way up to our 2100 series. They really rely on the 2170 the most, but for many different solutions, they know that they are able to have a variety of different options at their disposal. They were able to really greatly expand their customer base by able to offer the UCM series. Really create a robust on-premise option. Like I said, really easily paired with their SIP trunks, which was an absolute necessity for this. All right, for the customers that were looking to still rely on those landlines, as long as with more of their residential deployments where individuals still wanted to utilize their landlines, but wanted to upgrade to more VoIP options, they were able to do that through our ATAs and GXWs. So basically, this would allow them to use those landlines, still using all the benefits of an internal VoIP network. And last but not least, the competitive pricing that we offer really enabled DFT Communications really consistently keep beating out the competition time and again. All right. Okay, guys, so that is the presentation. Let me just bring myself back here, and I will answer any questions that you guys may have. Oh, not that. All right. Should be back in a moment. Sorry guys, just experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay. All right, so yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and answer them now. Like I said, you know, I'm going to go ahead and send out the presentation and the case studies as well. You're free to go if you would like. Keep in mind as well, we have many different case studies available on our website. Just head over to grandstream.com. At the top right, you'll see the little Solutions tab. There's a case studies option there where you'd be able to go ahead and look at many of our other case studies that go over some of the solutions that I didn't maybe touch on today. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go over any questions you have using the Q&A feature. So Franklin actually asked, what controller did customers use for Wi-Fi deployments? Probably a little bit earlier on. So like I said, that's one of the really cool features of the GWN series when it comes to our Wi-Fi networks. We have the built-in controller option. So if you want to manage and configure everything on site through that controller, you can do that up to an AP limit. It's different per access point, so just be sure to check out the data sheet if you want to go ahead and use that as a solution. What I would really suggest doing actually is we have our gwn.cloud. Basically, it's an online portal that you'd be able to utilize. You can put all of your access points there. You can actually configure everything through the cloud. So basically, if you need to make any kind of changes, monitor a network, you actually wouldn't even have to go on site once everything's deployed. You'd be able to configure the SSIDs, usage limits, everything else, all from your desktop or laptop, just utilizing the web portal. Really great way to be able to manage, monitor, and troubleshoot any type of issues that there could be with your deployments that you've gone with. Rich asked the 6510, how it sort of integrates with the PMS, if it's a link or an actual network integration. It's an actual network integration. When it comes to more of the details, I'm not too sure about that, Rich. But if you want, just I'll send this presentation out afterwards. Just kind of follow up with me on that, and I can get you connected with someone who can give you some more details if you like. Yeah, and there seems that there's some issues with the audio and video being out of sync. So we'll look into that afterwards. Not too sure what's up with that. All right, guys. So if you have any more questions, I'll just wait a few more seconds. Please go ahead and use that Q&A feature. But it looks like we pretty much covered everything. Just really want to say real quick, thank you so much for joining us today, going over some of our case studies and taking a look at the deployments that we covered within them. So thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions afterwards, feel free to just reply to the Facebook post or the email that I'm going to send out. Hope you all have a very good day. Thank you so much. Take care.